evening, everybody. This is Ed Carter, and welcome to the June monthly Trader Vision user workshop. Thanks for coming out tonight. We'll try to keep it as short as possible. I don't really have an agenda, and the market is just not cooperating, so there's not a lot to talk about, but I tried to pick out a few. If you've got symbols, we'll talk about those as well. Okay, so my agenda for this evening is just to give you an update on some of the blog trades, answer your questions, and then plan some new trade setups. So that's really all I've got going. Let's go ahead and look at some of the trades that we put on the Feature Trade Idea blog. There we go. Okay, I guess a good place to start will be with this GTN. Well, I guess more, but before we go there, let's just look where we're at. We fell back a little bit today. We've got 2364.95 in gains over the last, let's call it 3 weeks now. And we've had 9 closed trades. Actually, it's going to go up to 10 here in just a moment when we close it. I wanted to leave them open so that you could see me adjust them live here. So GTN was a trade that we entered back here, and we did get our first target taken off the board here a couple days ago, and then today was a very nasty day and took us out at our stop. So going to that trade, we were taken out at 12:53. Let's go to a 5-minute so I can figure out what time that happened. Yeah, it would have been here about 3:35. So let's go ahead and place that order. Let's see, 15, 30, whoops, 35. And that was stopped out here with almost 5% on that second half of the trade. Well, not quite a half. So overall, we made 8% on the trade, and we did make our trade goal for that. So that's good. At least we did that. It's sad that we got stopped out, but such is life. The other trades that we have open at the moment, so let's move this one over to log closed, and then I can delete it out of here. The next trade that we've got, let's get out of the 5-minute. Got open here is Owens & Minor. I can't remember which of these 2 days we got in. And it started to go, but today was a bad bullish engulfing day. We're still up above our entry price, so we're in the green. Not too much, but in the green. And we've moved the stop up once. Obviously, we're not going to adjust it again tonight. But on that trade, yeah, we're up 45 bucks, up 1%. So, you know, not terrible. KHC, we got in here, 2 days ago. Yesterday. And off that bullish engulf, we got a little follow through. And today we came back down, basically just holding pattern here. Hardly worth working at. It's probably, KHC, yeah, it says we're down 5 bucks. So, you know, nothing much there. And the other one, GIS, this one's getting on my nerves. We're up 52 bucks, but it's just can't get going. Pretty irritating. It tried to take off on the gap up that day and immediately sold off. Almost stopped us out yesterday, and then today it just couldn't get going either. So General Mills just isn't going. Consumer defensive is not working out here for us too much here recently. Those are the open trades. Let's look at a couple that had closed. Depends on whether or not you guys have been coming to the weeklies or not as to whether or not you have seen these, but I'll just go through a few of them here. Hanesbrand, HBI. We entered down here, we kept moving the stop up, and eventually on this nasty candle we were stopped out well into the green, not quite to our first target, but we had already taken part of the trade off. So as I said, we took off half the trade. Excuse me, not quite half the trade, at 8.43%. The rest of it got stopped out at 20.40, a nickel less than our goal. Ended up with 8.17. The bad thing is that we got stopped out, but the good thing is we made our 390, so we exceeded our goal. And that's the job of a trader, to make their goals, not to pick tops and bottoms. DDD, let's look at that. Where was we? Okay, DDD is the one I took off early. So on DDD, I had continued to move the stop up. We had achieved our first goal, had half the trade left on, and yesterday on that nasty open, am I looking at the right trade? Yeah, okay. Yesterday on this nasty open, on this low here, I was getting nervous with the market down hard and this thing starting to fade. I pulled the trigger and closed the trade here, just a couple cents less than our first goal. So we got most of our first goal, ended up with 7.88%, which is almost enough to make our goal, which is what I was trying to lock in. Had I held on, we would have come back the next day and been up pretty good, but again, would have been a nasty day today. So I'm happy to have taken it off. CDNA. Another one that we closed. This one we had been moving up something fierce, and we actually didn't close it. We actually made our second target, and I'm glad that we got it all off the trade there, because it's been downhill ever since. So on CDNA, we just kept moving the stop up, doing our job, managing the risk, and we booked the full profit. Ended up making almost 20% on it, about 866 bucks. So that's really the value of having the plans done ahead of time, is you don't feel as much pressure. It's easier for you to react without so much pressure, and preferably I would let the plan work. I've already decided how much I will risk, and I let it go. The only time I really violate that is when the market overall does something nasty on the on a U-turn, and that's what we had on that trade tweet. We opened up down 400 points or something like that, and that one made me nervous, and I closed out a trade. I wish I wouldn't have violated it, but we would have been stopped out anyway, so it is what it is. So those are the open trades, and some of the closed trades. EPC did not execute today. We have no entry. That is a nice one here. We have a tool. We've got a nice inverted head and shoulders here. We've got a rounded bottom breakout in progress, and we've got a J hook in progress. That's what I was basing the pick off of, looking for it to make it prove itself up here at the breakout. It didn't do it today, but somebody asked me in the room whether I would do that trade tomorrow if it comes back. And the way to answer that question for myself is, what has changed? We are in the bottom of this pullback for the J hook. Has anything changed to make me not want this trade when it breaks out? The answer is no. So yes, I would put it back on if it does break out tomorrow. Let's see what I want to do. I guess we'll move this over. I apologize if I sound erratic, but I'm having a bad night. Well, let's just leave that there. I'm not feeling that great, so let's. The other one that didn't execute the other day, theoretically could be, it didn't execute the other day. It came up there today on a bad day, so I guess it would have been this day that we put it on. If it takes off tomorrow, we might look to take this entry. This is a double of the an ETF that's a double inverse of the Dow. We'll see what happens. I don't anticipate that to happen, and I'll show you why here in just a moment. I guess, in fact, I can do it now. Let's look at some of the market inverse ETFs. We've got a Morningstar here in the VIX, but we've got a lot of resistance to work through. And if we go to some of these others, does that look like a position you want to get long? This is the short of the SPY. You've got resistance right here overhead. The same thing is true in, let's find the inverse of, okay, TZA is the small cap inverse. Do you want to get long here? Yeah, we have a bullish engulfing, but we've got a resistance level about 2% above. No sense getting long there. Is QID the Qs? Yeah, same story. We've got potential resistance level right above us, and so even though we've got a signal, we have got no real indication that the bears can continue to follow through. They've got to prove something more than one day to me before we want to get short the market, really. So basically that's the point I wanted to make, is even though we had a bad day today, the charts still don't show me that the bears have everything going their way. If we look at SPY, yep, we've got a evening star signal there, but we've got a potential resistance to hold here, or support to hold here, and if not, we've got resistance. I keep mixing it up. I've got support about 1% below. So no reason to panic just yet, and it's that way across the board. IWM, massive, got support just below. No reason to panic. Diamonds are the worst of the bunch, and it's got support just below. So again, no reason to panic and go too far astray. I guess before I get into any of the charts that I brought, let me open the floor up to questions. Do you have any questions about Trader Vision? Anything I can do? Ed, as a general rule, if you were working with a small account and you were trying to grow around $10,000, what's the max you would invest at any one time? Well, first of all, let me give you some educational hints, and that is, look up the concept risk of ruin. And essentially it's, if everything goes bad, how many times in a row can you be wrong and still still be liquid, afloat. So with $10,000, you've got to violate what I would do. Normally in a large account, I'm never putting more than 3-4% at max into a trade. Not in one stock. What is the next? Right. At any one time, I might have, with a small account, I might have most of the account in positions. I like to keep a cushion in cash, but with a small account, you don't have a lot of luxury in that regard. But if you can keep a couple $1,000s, 20% in cash. If you have a larger account, you can keep yes, it does. So let's just open one of these trades. I don't care which one. Here's KHC. Up here, it pulls up off of our data source when the next or last, depending on which the stock is reported. They don't all report ahead of time. This should report around the first couple days of August, but they have not put that out yet. So it's showing 5/2 as the last report date, and it will look that up. Robin, the more, going back to your question, the bigger question is how much can you put in any individual position? And I think it's going to be difficult for you to get anything less than $500 positions, which is 5% of your capital. Even that may be pushing it. Now, if you're doing options, you can probably get away with that. So you can probably do that with one contract type positions. You're having trouble deleting items from a watch list. Well, I can't guarantee that the data sources match, Wally. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to close version 12 and open up version 18 just to check that. I can't address that at the moment. All I can tell you is that our data source is an exchange, and but I don't know that their data is perfect. I don't know. If they disagree, I would check a third source. That's my only advice. I wish I had a better solution for you. So you've got things that you can't delete here. Who said that? Ernie. That's interesting. Well, you're right. And I'm not sure why. Let me just do this for a second. There we go. I will look into why the delete, it's kind of grayed out. You can't tell, but it's grayed out. I'm not sure why, and I will look into that. It should not be, but you can still delete them by highlighting them and clicking the X over at the right. So that's a starting point, but I will look into, I'm making a note right now. We are testing a new version that will be released in the next day or so, which will solve some of the bugs and improve performance greatly. I'd like to tell you it's going to be tomorrow. I hope it is, but I can't say for sure. Well, you shouldn't have to, Ernie. I mean, we went to the trouble of building the delete button in. It should work. So I will fix that, and I apologize. Let's see. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about them not matching, Wally. Um, but that was KHC. Let me just check a second source. KHC, United States. Yeah, Zax is estimating that I've that the information I've got is correct. 5.2 was their last report, and Zax is estimating that 8.2 will be when they report next. So on that particular one, for example, 5.8 on GTN. Yeah, GTN's last report was 5.8, and Zax is estimating, Zax is who NASDAQ uses, is estimating 8.14. So all I can say is I've got the information as best I can do. And the two that I checked here match. If you want to tell me which one is not matching, or if you've got several that are not matching, let me know and I will check. That's all I can do. But the data source is reporting, and I don't know that there's anything I could do if, let's just say that you've got 5 or 10 that don't match. I can report them to to that exchange, but I don't control the data, and so I can't look these things up individually. We've got, I think, close to 10,000 symbols in our database. So that's the best I can tell you on that. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, actually I see somebody typing, so I'll hang on. I hope I feel better when I wake up, otherwise Friday's going to be a long day. Fred, BNY, and Tiva. Well, let's just look. I show 614 there. NASDAQ shows that 614 is their date. So our data matches NASDAQ's data. Let's see about BMY. $426. Whoops, typed it wrong. Zax is estimating 726, but they're reporting that 426 was the last report. So the difference seems to be here that NASDAQ is reporting Zax's estimate, which is just Zax's best guess. Bristol Myers has not released the actual date. And so Zacks is a service that takes their best guess. They call it an algorithm, but you know, it's a best guess when the company hasn't said when they're going to report yet. But so I'm okay with that one not being right if they haven't reported it. And Tiva, I suspect that's going to be the issue in most cases, Wally, is that we're showing 5.3. Tiva's Israeli, I think, yeah. And NASDAQ shows that 5.3 was their last report date, and that Zacks estimates that they'll report 8.2. But again, that's an estimate. So as I said, I suspect that in most cases when they are not right, our data source is not reporting an estimate. They're reporting an actual released report date or the last report date. And I suspect that's what the difference is. So TC2000 may subscribe to Zacks and use their estimates or something. I don't know what TC2000's data source is. So all I can tell you is maybe you should check a different source, but this is the only source that we had available to us, and I'm pretty comfortable with the data we're getting. So. Well, yeah, it is, but it's in the forecasting business. Back when I was in consulting, the saying of my mentor was, if you don't have a forecast and I have a forecast, my number's best. And so sometimes it's best to have a good guess, and that's all Zacks is providing. I realize that that's not perfect, but it could give you some heads up as to when a trade's going to run into earnings. I just add 3 months to the date. If they have a date in the past, I just add 3 months to it and say it's going to be around there. But that's, I don't know how sophisticated Zacks' proprietary algorithm is, but they say right on their website it's an algorithm, which comes right down to it as their best guess. So, any other questions? If not, let's plan a few plans and then call it a night. Pak, I want to talk to you when we're done here as well. I've got some follow-up feedback for you. Also, I'm not sure if you were here earlier, but we've got a performance improvement that will help you out a lot. I'm not sure I understand the question, Pak. As I recall, in fact, I know that we've imported your data into TraderVision because I've got your database from one of your reports. I think you've got like 24, something like that, accounts, and you've got I don't know, a number of trades, hundreds or something, of either planned or executed trades across those accounts. So you've been able to import the data. Maybe you're saying it doesn't work well. I'm not sure exactly how to read. Does the new version address that? How should I read that? Okay, well, we'll stay afterwards, and I'll talk to you if you've got time, and we'll figure it out. Let's. Robin wants to look at Mick. which is someplace there it is. MIC is a trade that I had laid out, and I'm in it, but not as a featured trade, not in the blog. I entered on the pop out of the box back this day. It hasn't quite got going, but there's the first target that I'm looking at. I see nothing here that, you know, given how bad the market day was, that's not terrible at all. You know, so nothing has changed as far as I'm concerned with this. I certainly would not be moving my stop up yet. But even if you weren't entered, I think an entry here on positive trading, or maybe you just, you know, step it up here to let the bull show you they're back in charge, only gives you about 4.5 to 5% up to the first target. You could go to the wick instead of the top of the body, but that's a nice chart. That's rounded bottom breakout, lots of potential. And those are the targets that I would use. I'm sure I've planned this someplace here. Let's close this. MIC is not in this account. Now I've got to find where I planned it. Maybe I could just plan it again. Oh, okay, well, I guess you're in good shape then. If you're worrying about whether or not this is going to turn against you, I don't see anything here. No signal. Nothing to show me that that's fallen apart. Nothing materially has changed. So I would not change my plan. I would continue working my plan if if I was in your situation. Okay. If you have any other tickers, go ahead and throw them out there, and we'll take a look at them, plan them out, and put together a plan for them. I've got a few that I like, that I brought, that we can look at here. I see some typing. You want to look at CSX. Are you thinking long or short, or what are you thinking here? This has no appeal to me. You can see that the uptrend is broken. You might call this a flag, but nothing has shown me the bulls are stepping back in for a bullish position, and for a bearish position. I see potential support there. Let's go to a weekly. Yeah, I see potential support right below, but nothing to say that it's bounced off of it and the bulls are showing me any strength yet. So I don't like it for long, and yet, and I don't like it for short either, because we've got to deal with a 50 at some point as well. So for a long, I've got to see a bullish signal before I would do anything to get into that. But nothing there just yet. If you get some support here, you see a bullish candle tomorrow, you see something like color green. Consider that green. If we had a nice green candle tomorrow, bullish engulf, perhaps that would be your signal. But at the moment, we haven't proven that this is support yet, and we haven't shown any interest by the bulls to step in for the last few days. So it's not ready for a long for me yet. If you've got specific prices you want me to plan out for you, I'll do that, but that's how I see it. Let me look at some of the charts that I like while you guys are thinking. Come on. So we had a bullish doji continuation pattern with follow through today. CBL, it's a REIT, so keep that in mind. But notice how support and resistance lines drawn off the weekly kind of match up to the fib extensions of this run. So I would be looking for an entry up here showing that it can break out with the first target up there because we had a 38.2 pullback. I'm looking at the 23.6, which is this previous high, as my first target, and then we're in the gap. And that second target comes off of these lows back here. So on CBL, let's do a plan for it. Oh boy. So the end of July it should report. We've got that Polish J hook. We've got higher highs and higher lows. We've got a lot of things working for us. We're no longer in the rounded bottom breakout since we're through the 200. Let's do one entry and two exits. With an entry about 608 and a stop about 588. What does V-stop say today? It says 568. That's too much. With this support level here off of these highs, I might back it down to the bottom of this candle, but that's about it. We'll go ahead and call it 585. Call it 645 as a target, and the second target up here at 710. It says we can do 543. I think that's going to be too big, but let's try 500. No, that's not too big, so let's go ahead and make it 600. So we've got $138 of risk. If we sold half the position at that first target, that's a 6% gain, 111 bucks. Not a lot. And if we sold the second half at that second target, we pick up 306 or almost 17%. So we'd average about 11.5% overall, making 417 bucks. Overall, we'd have 3.2 to 1, 3.02 to 1, 138 at risk to the stop, 417 potential gain, very small position size, and well exceeding our goal for the trade. We'd have to make it to 666, which is right here, in order to achieve the goal. Everything above that is gravy. So if we can sell the whole position here, we would be in the money. And so I kind of like that trade layout. I wish the first target was bigger, but it is what it is. When I first planned this thing, we were down this much more, so it would have been a better position sometime this morning with an entry than it is tomorrow. But that's the way it goes. You want to look at GNW? Okay. Is that railroad? No, Genworth Financial. Okay. Wow. Okay, so big gap up, and now we're fading the gap with a, I guess we call it a bull flag. Let me go to a weekly. So, Pac, what are you thinking? Is this a long for you? What is your thoughts or your plan? That's what I'm looking with on the run, but we're certainly fading the gap. We might have some support here for a potential long. But I don't think, yes, this doji bounced, and that's nice, but I don't see it. There's no follow through, and so it's not not a good trade at this point for an entry. I would have to see a bullish candle, show me a bullish engulfing or something to show me that this is truly support and the bulls have stepped in. And if we did that, if and only if we did that, last time you asked, it was trading about 340. Well, okay, good for you. That's got to be some sort of news. I don't know if it was earnings or what, but that was an awesome day if you were in it. Again, I don't love it. I don't anticipate, and my job is not to outguess the market. I follow trend, and while the trend is bullish, the short-term trend is clearly bearish. So I need to see something more than this low candle wick to show me that it's going to reverse. Okay, let's look at Chandru's list. I don't want to plan a trade on this unless you want to make the assumption that it's going to put in a bullish signal tomorrow. Do you want to do that? We can do that quickly. So let's assume that we've got a bullish candle tomorrow. I'm going to say that we want to have an entry up here above this area where we had a bunch of touches. And I'm going to have my stop at this point down below. Man, that's awful big. But it's a 23.6 retracement, give or take. So the good news is I'm looking at a 38.2 extension as my target. And does that match up to anything? Well, we don't have history until we go back to a weekly. You can see here that 38.2 matches up with that high and some of these lows, and another high or two in here and a low in there. So that 38.2 around 575 has reacted in the past. So let's go ahead and plan that out. I don't know, with some other news, it wasn't earnings. So let's say our entry here is what? About 465 with a stop about 440. And our first target about, let's call it 570. It's a ridiculous high amount anyway. It says we can do 500 shares. Let's do that. That's still going to be a tiny position. Yeah, it gives us $125 a risk, but let's jack that up. Oh, let's try 650. Gives us 162.50 in risk, but if we can make that first target, we can get our goal at 519, which is going to be right around in here. And if we made it all the way up there, it would be a pretty nice payday, 683 bucks. So that would be a nice payday, but that's all predicated on having a bullish candle, some sort of signal, ideally, proving this is support and proving the bulls are in charge. So if you wanted to do that sort of thing, of course your numbers are going to vary based on your account size and the goal that you've planned, but that's what I would see. Chandu, let's look at Devon. Ugly day. I think this level is clearly going to be problems. You know, you can see how we've topped out there. We topped out there. We topped out there. We found little support there. And the second level is going to be trouble as well. So for a long position, I don't see anything here. You know, yes, you've got an evening star type, but that doesn't mean anything. We've got the Golden Cross traders are following this. If I got a bullish candle, I'd probably want to see it break up above here. So I would probably personally not be buying until up in here. And that makes no sense with this so tight above. You know, our V-stop is way down in here. Even if we, you know, tightened it up, wrong line. Even if we tightened it up into here, that target's not going to work for us. So we're going to have to use I'm not sure that's right or not. Let's see what the low is here. 34.10. Yeah, okay, so that is right. So you can see that that's a 23.6 extension here. So you've got fib watchers as well as people seeing these highs that are watching that level. So this is a pass for me. In order to make it a valid trade, you'd have to be up into here as your first target to get 2 to 1. So I'm not even going to plan this one. I don't like this, but you know, if you do, you can certainly plan out the trade. Let's see what FTC is. Try that again. ETFC. E-Trade, this is a little bit nicer layout. You can see that this has been a gorgeous tight channel here. About like that. Got to go out to the monthly to find anything overhead. Got a lot of touches in there. Probably someplace in there, give or take. Go back to the daily. That's a bummer. So let's plan using this one. Sorry guys, I'm just having a bad night. Okay, So that's what I would look at. We did a 23.6 pullback in here, and we're bouncing around. If we can break out, I would be looking for a breakout entry. Probably have my stop down in here. Let's see what V-stop says. 64.17. So V-stop's even higher. This is hard to calibrate here. And my first target's going to be up in here. And a second target up in there. So ETFC. I'm not getting any earnings date on these guys. Zacks is estimating 719, so let's put that in. And let's do one entry and two exits. We've got 4 bullish and 1 bearish factor working for us here. The short-term bias is still down for the market. So what did I say? About 66.50 as an entry. And about, what did I say, 64.17 is what V-stop said. Let's make it 64.15 with the first target up here about 71.30. And let's make it 25. Be conservative. And the second target up here about 74.70. Says we can do 50 shares. To keep our risk under 125 bucks. Fairly small position. Only making about 7%, getting 2 to 1 at that first target. But if we get that second target, which is where the weekly line came off of, if we get that, we get up to almost 2.76. Take care, Ernie. So it doesn't quite make our goals for this account. So the goals planned for this account, but it might for yours. And depending on your account size, you may have the ability to go with, more shares. You could also have a higher risk tolerance in terms of what you're willing to risk, but then you've got to get more reward to offset that to keep your 2 to 1. It says to make our 350 goal, we've got to get to 73.50. So that's going to be about in here. Right there. So we've got to get almost to the second target to get our goal. And the last one you wanted to look at is Momo. Again, fell out of the box here. For a long, I don't like this, and for a short, again, I don't like it. I've got potential support right here. For a short position. For a long position, I've got potential resistance right up in here. So that's, well, I guess that's 6% away. but I've got nothing in terms of a signal, nothing in terms of it showing me that it has found support. You know, it might have, but I don't know that for sure. Let's look at a weekly. At a weekly, I'm going to be dropping that down even lower. So yeah, sorry, but I don't like this one at all. Apologize about that. Let's look at fit. Bearish engulfing today, that's not good. Trying to J-hook, hasn't quite got going. It seems to be giving up this support level here. Again, this should be a fat line, so should it be, could it be drawn down a little lower? Sure it could, but wherever we draw it, it should be drawn as a fat line, and it's not quite holding yet. It might climb back in there tomorrow. But if I was, you're already long, it says. You're welcome, Chandru. You're already long. If I recall, did you take Doug's trade idea? I think it was the November 6s. Is that what you did, Robin? So you're still well in the money if that's what you did. So I would make that signal prove itself. I wouldn't, jump out at the end, at the open or anything like that. Oh, you have August's and you have the 7? Ooh, okay. Well, you're being tested pretty good at this point, but you're still in the money. I would see how it opens. I basically, a signal is not a signal unless it confirms. So, we'll see how it opens. I expect the market to possibly bounce tomorrow. I guess it depends on news cycles and what have you, but that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I wouldn't plan out a new trade on this long, and I wouldn't go short on that yet for sure. So that's what I see there. Did we look at DDD already? I think I did. Bearish engulfing again. Potential support level here. Hasn't quite given it up. Certainly hasn't shown that it's bouncing up off of it. So again, it's in no man's land. I would not start a new long here, and I would not bail on my short, or on my, I wouldn't start a short either, and I wouldn't bail on my long position if I had one. I would just keep managing the stop. As you can see, this is one that we took off on this day. I'll get to you in a minute here, Jake. G Pro. I don't see anything wrong here. Again, all these are things you say you've got open, and you're probably going to close them tomorrow. Well, if that's, you have to know your style. I like the chart. We just, we're working the stair steps up through the RBB. There's the next target for me, closing the gap, but you probably will run into the resistance of the 200 before. Yeah, there's nothing at all wrong with that. 2 days of free time to potentially tweet something, or China to say something, or somebody in Europe to say something, that Monday could open up ugly. Yeah, that's a good time to take pay and you take your profits and lighten up. But as far as the chart goes, I like the chart. We've broken out of this pullback. We've set up, that's close enough to a doji. That's a spinning top that we could be looking for a 3 candle doji doji continuation or doji sandwich, you would call it. So that's a potential setup we have. Of course, every one of these setups for a doji continuation is also a setup for an evening star. So that's the bad thing about these setups. It indicates neither, but is set up nice for either. So, you know, I would see how it opens. Let's try DKS. Dick's Sporting Goods. And nothing today, nothing bad. You can see the levels that I've got laid out here. You know, so it has potential resistance not far above. I'm sure you're in options on this. Well, I'm not sure, but hence your name. I'm guessing that mostly, maybe Doug's put a position on this in RWO. I don't know. I see nothing that says bail here, and I see nothing that says start a new position here either. So for me, this is just hold and work the plan, unless the market makes a dramatic change one way or the other. Let me answer some of these questions here. Jake, what is my favorite chart pattern and why? I like multiples. You know, I'm greedy. I want as many factors in my favor as I can get. So let me see if I can find. Let me just flip through these and see if I can find one that I can use here. Okay. I'll use this one. It's not perfect, but it illustrates the point. What have we got here? Well, I've got a rounded bottom breakout, first of all. So the 50 is now curled up. So this is my favorite type of RBB, where the 50 is not still going down, it's now curled up. So I'm in an RBB that's curled up. You could also say that this is an inverted head and shoulders. You can see that this is a major resistance line that we have now started to take out. We broke up above it, and we have proven that we held above it today in spite of a bad market. I've also got a J hook, and it's broken out and it's holding there, and I like that. So what do I like? I like rounded bottom breakouts. I like J hooks within rounded bottom breakouts, and if I can get inverted head and shoulders to go with it, I like that even better. And most of all, I would like a signal to go on top of it, because I'm greedy. I've told people this many times. I think of myself as a banker. I'm the bank mortgage officer, okay? Loan officer. And I've got to make every chart that comes before me prove that it's worthy of a loan. Because that's all I'm doing. I'm not buying anything. I'm making them a loan, and I expect to get my money back plus interest. And so basically, you've heard the old saying, you've got to prove that you don't need a loan to get a loan. That's what I want from a stock. I want it to give me all of the things. I want multiple patterns. I want a signal. I want a great risk reward. So I've got here in this setup, I've got 4% risk. And just to the first target, I've got 11.5, 12%. So I'm getting 3 to 1. And I like my number better than V-stop below these bodies here, because if it falls back down here, I no longer want it. So I need it to break out here. It's already proven it can hold this. And now we can see it take off. That's what I'm looking for. So what is my favorite pattern? And the answer is moldable, but I like rounded bottom breakouts. I love pullbacks. So J hooks or PBOs is a J hook that has not yet broken out within a rounded bottom breakout. If I can add to that an inverted head and shoulders, outstanding. And to add to all of them some sort of signal. Now in this case I don't have the signal, but with 3 patterns I like it as well. 3 patterns plus we showed we've held this breakout level. So that shows me everything I need to know. And let me just plan that for you. DSKE. Oh, God. Zax is estimating August 8th. On the principle that if they've got an estimate and I don't, their estimate's best, that's what I'll use. And let's just use one entry, one exit. With an entry here at what, 10 bucks? It's at 10.10. If I could get a little inside day buy here, well, let's just buy it at 10.10. With a stop down here about 970. So I got 40 cents of risk. And 11.25 is my target. Says I can do 300 shares. Let's see what we do here. I might be able to do more than that. So let's go ahead and go with 400 shares. Whoops, whoops, whoops. $400 shares gives me a 3% position, 4,000 to get in, and $160 of risk versus a potential reward of 460. So I'm getting almost 3 to 1, 2.9 to 1, and that's worth it. Now I hope so too. The best thing I can tell you is that's the time to be greedy, and when you're deciding what you have to have, make the damn thing prove itself to you. Make it give you a lot of bullish conditions and very few bearish conditions, and that's all I can tell you is the more what's the word? The more discerning you are, the more you force it to prove itself, the better off you'll be. That's been my experience. So make it prove itself. I'd rather take 1/10 the number of trades as somebody else and make them all good trades than I would, take 20 trades and have them all be mediocre. So that's how I view it. Yeah. Okay. Any other tickers you want to look at? I might plan 1 or 2 more. MTG, you notice this is the same situation. I don't quite have the head and shoulders here, but I've got a rounded bottom breakout. The 50 is curling up. I've got a signal here, a doji continuation. We've at least tested, if not broken out of this potential resistance level that I had drawn. I break up through here, this one doesn't have very much upside, so it's only got about 7% to the first target, and then another, whatever that is, 7%, something like that. And another 7 to 9%, depending on whether the 200 acts as resistance or if I can get up to this area up here. So I believe I planned this out in the past. Yeah, let's look at that. I'm not sure when I planned it out. I guess a while ago. So 1140. Let's change the numbers. 1140. $11.10. $12.25. $13.25. And then let's delete this third exit. So under that case, I've got a 4% position. Says I could have done 500, but I'm keeping it a little bit smaller here. So I'm risking 135 bucks for a chance to make 600, and I can make my goal if we make it to 12.18. So we don't even need to make this first target in order for me to get my goal for the trade off. If I close the entire thing at 12.18, I've made my 350 bucks. So that's a trade that I like. Again, if it proves itself, if it breaks out. You know, it's proven that it can hold here at this resistance level, but now I want to see that it moves away. Show me the bulls are in charge. And if that's the case, you know, I'll certainly... Well, actually, I've done this wrong. Let's try that again. That's better. Yeah, so, you know, again, 12.18, I can make my goal. If I get both these goals, I can pick up 600 bucks. But if I just get the first goal, that's going to be more than, or the first target, that's going to be more than my goal. So I like this one, and it plans out pretty good. Okay, for the recording, I want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your time this evening, and I apologize for being under the weather. If you need to contact me, you can do so at ed@tradervision2020.com or support@tradervision2020.com, or within the application itself, you can, let's close this, you can go to help, support ticket, and that will send me an email as well. If you are interested in daily trading, let me find that daily blog, which is on the website under Trade Ideas, TV 2020 Trade Plans. Each day there's a blog with, well, Friday will be a account follow-up, but each day there is normally a trade plan with a marked up chart, a trade plan that is already created, and then also a video of the planning process that I go through, so you can see how you use the tool. So I recommend you try that out. Again, hitandruncandlesticks.com, then from the menu, Trade Ideas, TV 2020 Trade Plans, and that video, you can go to the TraderVision 2020 V2 channel and subscribe, and this is the video that you get each day. It's about 6-7 minutes of marking up the chart, commenting on it, and then putting together a trade plan. So you can see how it's done. So again, thank you so much for your time this evening, and you have a great evening.